The stars burned cold and silent above the war front. For years, humans and the alien race known as the Thalren had fought over distant colonies and resource worlds. The fighting had no end, only more sorrow. Captain Daniel Cross, a human soldier from Earth, had seen enough of it. He was tired of war, but duty always came first, and tonight was one of those nights when everything depended on him. A message had reached human command, a secret signal from deep within Thalren space. Their princess Lyra had been captured by a rebel warlord. The Thalren queen had begged for help, but her own forces were trapped far away. The message was simple. Anyone who saves my daughter will have the gratitude of a queen. Most humans ignored it. Helping an enemy princess in the middle of a war seemed like madness. But Daniel saw something else. He saw a chance to save a life. Not for glory, not for orders, but because it was right. The rescue ship Falcon's Edge dropped out of warp near a dying orbital fortress. It floated above a red desert planet, half-broken, spilling fire and debris into space. The rebel warlord had turned it into his base, but now it was falling apart. Daniel stood in the loading bay with his team, 5 soldiers in gray armor. The air shook with the hum of engines and distant explosions. "Captain," said his pilot, Sergeant Vale, "if we stay longer than 20 minutes, the whole station will collapse. You sure this is worth it?" Daniel checked his rifle and gave a small smile. "Worth it or not, there's a scared girl up there who doesn't deserve to die. We're going in." The ship connected to the fortress with a magnetic seal. The doors hissed open and the team rushed inside. The halls were dark, filled with smoke and sparks. They could hear distant gunfire, the rebels fighting among themselves as everything fell apart. "Heat signatures ahead," said Corporal Lynn, watching his scanner. They moved quietly, turning corners, stepping over broken machines and fallen bodies. The fortress was dying fast, the walls cracking, power failing, gravity flickering on and off. Then they found her. Inside a locked chamber sat a small figure, silver hair, bright violet eyes, wearing a torn royal uniform. She looked up in shock when Daniel forced open the door. "Princess Lyra?" he asked, her voice trembled. You're human." "Yeah," Daniel said with a faint grin. "Your mother sent us." She stared, confused. "My mother? Trusted a human? Guess she ran out of options," he said, offering his hand. "Come on. Let's get you out of here." She hesitated, but when the roof cracked above them, she quickly grabbed his hand. The team fought their way through collapsing corridors. Every turn brought fire, alarms, and falling debris. The fortress was falling apart faster than expected. Daniel carried the princess through smoke, guiding her when she stumbled. The rest of his team covered their backs, firing at rebels still trying to escape. An explosion tore through a nearby wall, throwing Daniel to the floor. Metal shards rained down. His armor's alarm screamed. But he got up again, always moving, always protecting her. "Keep going," he shouted. They finally reached the hangar. Only one escape pod remained intact, a small circular craft half buried in debris. Vale ran forward and checked the controls. "Pod's working, but it can only hold 1 passenger and 1 escort." Daniel looked at his team. "You heard him. Get to the ship and pull back. I'll stay with her." "Sir, that's an order." The others hesitated, then saluted and ran for the docking line. Daniel turned to the princess. "Time to go home." She looked pale. "You're coming with me, right?" Daniel hesitated. Behind them, fire rolled down the hall like a wave. He opened the pod's hatch and gently pushed her inside. "I'll be right behind you," he said. She looked into his eyes, uncertain. "Promise?" He smiled, a tired, honest smile. "Promise." He sealed the hatch. Then he pulled the manual release lever. The pod launched out into space, spinning away from the dying station. Lyra screamed inside, pressing her hands against the window as the fortress exploded behind her. Through the fire, she saw him, still inside, standing by the window, his face calm as the flames rose. He gave one last wave, then everything vanished in light. Hours later, the royal fleet of the Thalren arrived. The Queen's flagship Seraph's Will scanned the wreckage, pulling survivors from the drifting remains. When Princess Lyra was found alive, the Queen herself came to greet her. "Mother," Lyra cried, falling into her arms. "He saved me." "The human, he stayed behind." The Queen's silver eyes narrowed. "A human?" Lyra nodded, tears in her eyes. "He gave his life so I could escape. He promised he'd follow. But the station exploded. He's gone." The Queen held her tightly, "Hush now, my child," but her expression was unreadable. The Queen of the Thalren was known for her pride and strength, but now there was something else in her face. Something new. "Search the debris," she commanded. "Find his body. Bring him home." Her generals exchanged worried glances. "Your Majesty, with respect." He was human. Her voice turned cold as iron. "He saved the blood of Thalren. I do not care what world he came from. Search until you find him." Days passed. The Thalren fleet gathered fragments of the destroyed station. They found hundreds of bodies, but not Daniel's. His armor signal had vanished into static. Princess Lyra stayed by the observation window every night, looking out into the stars. She replayed the moment he smiled at her, that calm look before the fire took him. She whispered to herself, "He kept his promise. He stayed behind so I could live." Her mother, Queen Saraline, stood behind her silently. "Do you believe he is gone?" Lyra wiped her tears. "I don't know, but I feel he's still out there." The Queen looked out at the void, deep in thought. "Then we will find him. I owe that man a debt no crown can repay." She turned to her generals. "Send probes. Search every wreck, every escape vector. If the human lives, he will be found. If he is gone, I will still honor his name." The chamber fell silent. Even the guards bowed their heads. That night, far from the Thalren capital, a faint signal flickered from the edge of the debris field. Weak and broken, almost lost in the static of space. A single pod floated among the ruins, its hull cracked and its systems dying. Inside, a man lay still, frozen in stasis. The machine's light blinked once, twice, then went dark. The signal carried through space, small but steady, a whisper among the stars. The Queen's searchers would not notice it yet. But the universe had not finished with Captain Daniel Cross. He had given his life once, and soon the galaxy would learn that humans do not give up so easily. The royal city of Velrian, capital of the Thalren Empire, shimmered beneath twin suns. Its towers were made of white stone and living crystal, stretching high above silver rivers and floating gardens. Yet even with all its beauty, a shadow of grief hung over the palace. Princess Lyra sat by her window, gazing into the pale blue sky. It had been 6 weeks since her rescue from the destroyed fortress. Her body had healed, but her heart had not. Every night, she dreamed of the human who had carried her through fire, Captain Daniel Cross, and every morning she woke with the same thought. He shouldn't have stayed behind. She had told the story again and again. Her mother, Queen Saraline, had listened carefully each time, asking every detail. The Queen had ordered her best search ships to sweep the debris field where the fortress exploded. Still, they found nothing, no body, no armor, not even a piece of his weapon. The court whispered that it was hopeless. The humans themselves declared him missing in action, but the Queen refused to stop searching. In the throne hall, sunlight poured through tall windows, reflecting off golden floors. The Queen sat on her high seat, dressed in royal silver. Around her stood her advisors and generals. Admiral Kareth, an older Thalren with deep blue skin, bowed before speaking. "Your Majesty, the search teams report no trace of the human. The station was completely destroyed. We must assume he did not survive." The Queen's eyes were calm but sharp. "Assume nothing, Admiral. I asked for results, not guesses." He hesitated. "Forgive me, but with all respect, why do we continue to search? He was not one of us." A tense silence filled the hall. The Queen rose slowly from her throne. Her tall figure glowed in the sunlight, and her voice carried like thunder. "He was not one of us," she said. "Yet he gave his life for my daughter. He did what many Thalren would not. That alone makes him more than worthy of our respect." The Admiral lowered his head. "Yes, my Queen." She stepped closer. "If there is even a fragment of him left among the stars, I will find it. That is my vow as a mother and as a queen." Her words spread through the court like fire. Some nobles admired her honor. Others whispered that she had lost her judgment, but none dared speak against her openly. Later that night, the Queen walked alone in the royal gardens. The air smelled of silver leaves and rain mist. She looked up at the stars and 1,000 shining lights across the dark. She whispered softly, "Human, Daniel Cross, you saved my child. I do not know why you did it, but I will not let your story fade." Footsteps approached behind her. It was Princess Lyra, dressed in a soft white robe. "Mother," she said quietly, "you still believe he's alive?" The Queen turned to her. You do too. I can see it in your eyes. Lyra nodded slowly. I feel it. When the fortress exploded, I thought I saw him disappear. But something tells me he's still out there. Then we shall trust that feeling, said the Queen. They stood together, looking toward the stars. A week later, hope returned. In the command center deep beneath the palace, a group of technicians worked around glowing control tables. Suddenly one of them gasped. Signal detected. Commander Varen, a tall officer with gray armor, hurried to the screen. Where? Outer debris field, Sector 12. Weak human distress beacon. Fading in and out, but it's there. Varen's eyes widened. Get this to the Queen, now. Within minutes the Queen arrived, her silver cloak flowing behind her. Show me. The technician replayed the signal. It was faint, only a few seconds long. A broken code repeating again and again. SOS, Falcon's Edge. Crew status, unknown. The Queen leaned forward. That ship name. It's the one that rescued my daughter. Varen nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. We thought all hands were lost. The Queen's voice hardened. Prepare a retrieval ship. I will oversee the mission myself. Your Majesty, said Varen quickly. It could be dangerous. There may still be rebel traps in that region. She looked at him with calm authority. Then we will be careful. But we will go. The next morning, the royal vessel Eternal Grace departed from Velrian, cutting through hyperspace like a silver arrow. The Queen stood on the bridge, her eyes focused on the star map ahead. Princess Lyra stood beside her, wearing light armor. Mother, you didn't have to come yourself, Lyra said softly. The Queen smiled faintly. You are my heart, my child. That human saved my heart. I will see with my own eyes what became of him. When the ship reached the debris field, the view was haunting. Pieces of the broken fortress drifted silently among asteroids, glowing faintly from radiation. Signal locked, said the navigator. Source located inside a destroyed escape module. Bring it aboard, ordered the Queen. Robotic arms pulled the small pod into the hangar. Its surface was burned black and cracked. Engineers quickly cut it open and froze. Inside lay a man in a damaged human stasis suit covered in frost but still breathing. It's him, whispered Lyra. Queen Saraline stepped forward. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she placed her hand on the glass and closed her eyes. Welcome back, Captain Daniel Cross. The medics rushed him to the ship's medical bay. Machines hummed, scanning his vital signs. He was weak but alive, his heart beating slowly. The Queen watched through the glass window as doctors worked. Hours passed. At last the lead medic turned and bowed. He will live, Majesty. The stasis field preserved his body. He only needs time to recover. A rare smile touched the Queen's lips. Then we have done our duty. Lyra whispered. He kept his promise, Mother. He's coming back. Yes, said the Queen softly. And this time he will not be forgotten. When Daniel finally opened his eyes, he was surrounded by soft blue light. He blinked, confused. The air smelled clean, not like the battlefield. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy. A calm voice spoke. Easy, Captain. You are safe now. He turned his head and saw her, the Queen of Thalren herself, sitting beside his bed. Where am I? He asked weakly. You are aboard my ship, she said. You have been asleep for many weeks. Daniel frowned. I remember the explosion. The princess. Did she make it? The Queen nodded slowly. She did. Thanks to you. Relief washed over his face. Good, then I did my job. The Queen studied him for a moment. You did more than your job, human. You saved what I hold most dear. My daughter lives because of you. Daniel tried to sit up. I didn't do it for thanks, Your Majesty. I couldn't let her die. The Queen's gaze softened. That is why I cannot let you be forgotten. He blinked in confusion. What do you mean? You will stay under my care until you recover, she said. No harm will come to you. You have my word. Daniel hesitated, unsure if he should believe her, but her eyes were calm and honest, the eyes of a ruler who kept her promises. Days later, Daniel could walk again. He often found the princess waiting outside the med bay, smiling shyly. You look better, she said. Thanks to your people, he replied. You saved me, she said quietly. I'm glad you're still here. He smiled. Guess I'm hard to get rid of. They laughed softly together, unaware that across the palace nobles were whispering again. Some feared what the Queen's kindness toward a human might mean. Others believed it was destiny, a sign that the Thalren and humans were not so different after all. That night, the Queen stood at the observation window of her ship, watching Daniel from afar as he looked out at the stars. Her voice was quiet but firm. "You saved my daughter's life, Daniel Cross. Now you are under my protection. The galaxy may call you human, but to me, you are an honored soul of Thalren." The stars reflected in her eyes as she whispered, "And I will never let you go." Captain Daniel Cross slowly regained his strength in the shining halls of the Thalren Palace. The world outside his window was not Earth. It was brighter, grander, and strange. Floating cities drifted across the clouds, their towers glowing with blue energy. The sky shimmered with twin suns that never fully set. Every morning the Princess Lyra visited him. She brought books, fruits, and sometimes laughter. She would tell him stories about her people, about how her mother, Queen Saraline, ruled with honor but carried deep sadness since the war began. Daniel listened quietly, still trying to understand why he was here. He had been a soldier his entire life, trained to fight, not to be treated like a royal guest. One morning he stepped outside for the first time since waking. The Queen's palace stood high above the capital, with shining bridges and gardens that hung in the air. The guards bowed as he passed, but some looked uncertain. A human walking freely in the royal halls was not something they saw every day. Lyra walked beside him, smiling. "You're getting stronger, Captain. The doctors say you'll be fully recovered soon." Daniel nodded. "That's good news. Then I can go home." Her smile faded a little. "You want to leave?" "I don't belong here, Princess. My people will want to know I'm alive." Lyra lowered her eyes. "I understand, but—" She paused, then looked up again. "You'll always have a home here, too." Daniel didn't know what to say. The way she looked at him, ungrateful, kind, almost hopeful, reminded him why he had risked everything in the first place. That night, the Queen called for him. When he entered the grand throne room, the walls shimmered like liquid glass. Queen Saraline stood by the window, her silver crown catching the light. "Captain Cross," she said softly, "how are your injuries?" "Mostly healed, Your Majesty. I can walk, run, and even fight again if I have to." "I hope you won't have to," she replied. "Your days of battle should be behind you." Daniel hesitated. "I'm a soldier, ma'am. That's all I've ever been." The Queen turned toward him. "No, you are more than that. You gave your life once for someone you barely knew. You chose mercy over hate. That makes you something greater than a soldier." He bowed slightly. "I only did what was right." Her voice softened. "That is exactly why the galaxy needs you." Before he could answer, a messenger rushed into the hall. "Your Majesty, urgent report from the border colonies." The Queen's calm expression hardened. "Speak." "Rebel fleets have regrouped near the Ashen Belt. They're preparing to attack again." Daniel frowned. "I thought the war ended." "Officially, yes," said the Queen, "but not all obey the peace. Some see my compassion as weakness." She looked at Daniel thoughtfully. "You fought these kinds of battles before. Your knowledge could help save lives again." Daniel stepped forward. "Then let me help." The Queen studied his face. "You would fight for a world not your own?" He gave a small smile. "I already did once, didn't I?" Within days, Daniel began working with Thalren officers. He taught them human tactics, ways to defend, to outthink, not just overpower. The Thalren were strong warriors, but their pride often made them predictable. Daniel showed them how humans used creativity and teamwork in war. Some officers resisted. Others listened carefully. One day, a commander named Rethan confronted him in the training yard. "You don't belong here, human," Rethan said. "Our ways are not your ways." Daniel didn't react. "Maybe not, but your enemies don't care about your ways. They care about winning." Rethan frowned. "You think we need your lessons?" Daniel looked him in the eye. "I think you need to survive." The silence stretched. Then Rethan gave a slow nod. "You fight with honor, Captain. Perhaps I misjudged you." From that day on, more Thalren officers began to respect him. Meanwhile, Queen Saraline watched everything quietly. She saw how her soldiers began to change, how Daniel's humility and bravery inspired them. At a private council meeting, one of her advisors whispered, "Your Majesty, his influence grows." The people trust him, but many are uneasy about a human guiding Thalren warriors. The Queen's voice was calm. "They will learn that strength has no race, only heart. Some fear you favor him too much, the advisor said carefully. The queen turned her gaze toward the stars. I favor honor, and he has more of it than most nobles in this palace. One evening, the queen invited Daniel and Princess Lyra to dine with her. The long table was set with crystal dishes and soft blue light. The queen spoke first. Captain Cross, I've been thinking. When the war finally ends, there will be a time for rebuilding. My people have never worked closely with humans before. I want that to change. I want you to be the first bridge between our worlds. Daniel blinked in surprise. Me? I'm just a soldier. The queen smiled gently. You are a symbol. A man who gave everything without asking for reward. That kind of heart unites more than any treaty. Lyra nodded eagerly. Mother's right. You could help both sides understand each other. Daniel looked at them both. That's a lot of trust for one man. The queen's silver eyes softened. Trust is earned, Captain. You have earned mine. But peace never lasts long. Late that night, alarms echoed through the palace. Guards shouted in the halls. Daniel grabbed his gear and ran toward the commotion. When he reached the queen's chamber, smoke filled the corridor. A small group of masked intruders, rebel assassins, had broken through the defenses. Protect the queen, shouted one guard. Daniel didn't hesitate. He charged forward, tackling one of the assassins before they could reach her. Another swung a blade at him. Daniel blocked it with his forearm and kicked the attacker into the wall. The queen watched as the human fought with speed and determination, unarmed but fearless. When one assassin raised a weapon toward her, Daniel threw himself in front of her, taking the hit across his armor. Sparks flew. Guards rushed in, capturing the last of the rebels. The danger was over. The queen knelt beside him. You're hurt, Daniel winced. Just a scratch, Your Majesty. She looked at the cracked armor on his shoulder. You risked yourself again for me, he smiled faintly. Guess I'm just bad at running away. For a moment, the great queen said nothing. Then she placed her hand on his shoulder. You saved my daughter once. Now you've saved me. My debt to you grows deeper, Captain. Don't think of it as a debt, he said. Think of it as friendship. The queen stared at him, a rare warmth in her eyes. Then you are the first human to call the Queen of Thalren a friend. Word of the attack spread quickly, and so did the story of the human who had protected their ruler with his life. Many Thalren who once doubted Daniel now spoke his name with respect. The queen addressed her people publicly. This man has risked his life twice for my family. He is not our enemy. He is proof that honor knows no species. Let all who live under my banner remember that courage can wear any face. The crowds cheered her words, and for the first time Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. That evening, Daniel stood alone on a balcony overlooking the city lights. Princess Lyra joined him quietly. You saved my mother tonight, she said softly. She would have done the same for me, Daniel replied. Lyra looked at him with a faint smile. She says she will never let you go. I think she means it, Daniel chuckled lightly. I noticed. She doesn't see you as a soldier anymore, Lyra added. She sees you as part of our family. Daniel turned his eyes to the stars. Family, huh? That's something I never expected to find here. Lyra smiled. Sometimes the universe gives us more than we deserve. He looked at her, then back at the night sky. Somewhere out there, war still burned. But here, among the Thalren, something new was beginning. A fragile peace built not on treaties, but on one man's choice to do what was right. And deep within the royal palace, Queen Saraline stood by her window, whispering softly, He has given me back my child and my hope. Now he belongs to the stars, Dine, but he will never walk them alone. The Thalren Empire had always prided itself on strength, honor, and discipline. Its armies were unmatched, its fleets vast, and its rulers known for wisdom tempered with strictness. Yet now a new force moved quietly through the halls of the palace. A human, a stranger, and a man who had earned respect not through birthright or rank, but through courage and selflessness. Captain Daniel Cross had recovered fully. His injuries from the fortress and the assassination attempt were gone, leaving only faint scars as reminders of the battles he had survived. But peace had brought new challenges. The Queen's decision to protect a human soldier, once an enemy, had divided the court. In the grand hall of the palace, nobles whispered in shadowed corners. He walks among us like he belongs, one said, his voice sharp with disdain. A human. guiding our warriors, advising the queen herself. It is unthinkable. Another noble shook his head. Do you not see the truth? The people respect him. The soldiers follow him. The queen trusts him more than many of her own generals. Yes, the first replied. And that is exactly why it is dangerous. A human influencing Thalren decisions could weaken the empire from within. Meanwhile, in the training yard, Daniel oversaw combat exercises with Thalren soldiers. His movements were precise, his orders clear. He taught tactics that were unfamiliar to the Thalren, strategies based on agility, teamwork, and unpredictability. At first, many soldiers doubted him. But one by one, they saw the results. Their formations improved, their confidence grew, and soon even the strictest officers admitted that Daniel's methods worked. One afternoon, a messenger arrived with urgent news. "Your Majesty," the young officer shouted, "there has been a rebel incursion near the northern colonies. Reports indicate that their fleet is attacking human trade ships. Casualties are high." Queen Saraline's silver eyes narrowed. "Prepare the defense fleet immediately, and send Captain Cross to coordinate with the human alliance. We cannot risk further losses." Daniel felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had not asked for it, but he understood the stakes. He gathered a team of Thalren officers and humans alike. Their mission was simple in words, but dangerous in reality. Protect the trade routes, repel the rebels, and prevent a war that could undo the fragile peace the Queen had built. Tensions rose as Daniel worked alongside the Thalren. Some officers still mistrusted him, whispering that a human could never understand their ways. Commander Rethan, once skeptical, now watched him closely. "You continue to prove yourself, human," Rethan said quietly during a briefing. "But the nobles grow restless. They may challenge your presence here." Daniel nodded. "I cannot control them. I can only do what is right." Rethan hesitated. "Right may not be enough in our world." "Be careful." Daniel gave a small smile. "I've faced worse." The first battle came quickly. Rebel ships emerged from an asteroid field, moving swiftly to attack vulnerable trade convoys. Daniel coordinated the Thalren fleet, positioning human and alien ships together. The rebels expected chaos, but Daniel's strategy was precise. Humans flanked from one side while Thalren warriors charged head-on. The result was a resounding victory. The rebel ships were destroyed or forced to retreat, and not a single convoy was lost. After the battle, soldiers celebrated, and some whispered Daniel's name with admiration. Others still cast wary glances, uncertain about the place of a human among them. Back at the palace, the Queen received word of the victory. "You were right to trust him," she said to her council. "The human strategy saved lives and secured our trade routes. Let this be a lesson. Courage and skill are not bound by species." Yet not all were convinced. Certain nobles began plotting quietly. They feared Daniel's growing influence, worried that a human could sway the Queen's decisions, perhaps even her heart. Some even attempted small acts of sabotage, misdirecting supplies, spreading rumors, but Daniel's careful planning prevented disaster. His calm demeanor and quick thinking earned him admiration, even among those who doubted him. Weeks passed. The bond between Daniel and the princess grew stronger, though it remained unspoken and gentle. She admired his courage, his patience, and the way he carried himself without arrogance. He admired her intelligence, bravery, and the grace she showed under pressure. One evening, while overlooking the capital from the palace terrace, Lyra spoke softly. "Captain," she began, "do you ever think about going home?" Daniel leaned against the railing, looking at the stars. "Every day. But I don't belong in just one place anymore. Not after what happened. Not after seeing what people can do when they have hope." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then maybe you belong here. And with us." Daniel shook his head, smiling wryly. "I belong where I'm needed. That could be anywhere." She looked out at the horizon, understanding. "I just hope you know. You've changed more than just me. You've changed all of us." Tensions in the palace reached a breaking point. One morning, a group of high-ranking nobles confronted the Queen. Their leader, Lord Kalen, spoke with quiet anger. "Your Majesty," he said, "this human is not of Thalren blood. He may have saved your daughter, but his influence grows daily. It undermines our authority. We demand that he leave the palace and return to his people." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "And what of the lives he has saved? The battles he has won? Do those mean nothing to you?" Lord Kalen faltered. We only seek stability." The Queen's voice rang like steel. Stability without honor is meaningless. This man risked everything for my child and my people. He has earned my protection, my trust, and my respect. No one will take that from him. The nobles fell silent. Many bowed their heads, unwilling to argue further. Days later, a new threat arrived. More dangerous than whispers in politics. An assassin slipped into the palace under cover of night. Daniel was in the hallway when he saw a shadow moving toward the queen's private chamber. Without thinking, he leapt forward. The assassin swung a blade, and Daniel blocked it with his forearm, sending the attacker crashing into the wall. The queen's guards rushed in, capturing the intruder, but Daniel had already taken a wound across his shoulder. He winced, but his eyes never left the queen. "Are you safe?" he asked. She placed a hand on his cheek, gentle but firm. "Thanks to you, yes. You risked yourself again." Daniel shook his head. "I only did what I had to do." The queen studied him in silence, her expression softening. "You saved my daughter once. Now you've saved me. I am forever in your debt, Daniel Cross." He gave a faint smile. "Then consider it a debt repaid by friendship." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she spoke, almost to herself. "A human, and yet I owe him more than any Thalren could understand." The story of Daniel's bravery spread quickly throughout the empire. Soldiers spoke of him as the human, who had protected their queen. Nobles who once doubted him now saw him as a symbol, proof that courage and honor could exist in any being. Even those who had plotted against him began to rethink their stance. Some still whispered in fear or jealousy, but most quietly acknowledged the truth. Daniel Cross was not just a soldier. He was a legend in the making. That evening, Daniel stood on the palace balcony once more, gazing at the stars. Princess Lyra approached quietly. "You've changed this place," she said softly. Daniel turned, smiling faintly. "I didn't do it alone. Your people were ready for change. I only helped them see it." Lyra looked at him, eyes bright with admiration. "You've done more than that. You've given hope. You've given honor back to people who thought it was lost." Daniel shook his head. "I only did what anyone should do. I didn't expect anything in return." She smiled, then turned to the palace behind them. "The queen. She will never let you leave. I think she means it when she says you belong here." Daniel looked at her, then at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, humans waited for news of him. But here, in this alien empire, he had found something he had not expected. Respect, purpose, and the knowledge that one man could make a difference. And across the palace, in her private chambers, Queen Caroline watched him silently, whispering to herself, "You gave my daughter life and hope. You have given me peace. You will never walk alone again." The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely, and at its heart was a human soldier whose courage could not be measured by rank, blood, or birth, only by the strength of his heart. The twin suns of Velrian rose over the shining towers of the capital, casting golden light over the floating gardens and silver rivers. Birds with radiant feathers circled the towers, singing in harmony with the city. Yet for all its beauty, the palace was tense. A new challenge had appeared, one that could test the strength of the empire, the loyalty of the soldiers, and the courage of one human soldier. Captain Daniel Cross had become a legend among the Thalren. Soldiers admired him. Nobles feared him. And Queen Caroline, well, she had made it clear that he would never be forgotten. It began with a warning. A messenger arrived, breathless, reporting a massive rebel fleet approaching the Empire's outer borders. These were no small raiders. Hundreds of ships armed with the latest stolen weapons, intent on revenge. The Queen turned toward Daniel. "You know what we must do. Your insight could save countless lives." Daniel nodded. "Then let's prepare. We'll need every fleet ready and every soldier trained. We can't underestimate them." Princess Lyra stood beside him, her violet eyes wide. "Do you think we can stop them?" Daniel smiled faintly. "We have to, and we will." The Queen studied them both, pride and concern mixing in her silver gaze. "This battle will decide the fate of our people. And you, Daniel Cross, are at the heart of it." The preparations took days. Daniel worked tirelessly, coordinating human and Thalren strategies, sharing every lesson he had learned in past battles. He trained the soldiers in agility, teamwork, and unpredictable maneuvers. Even the pilots of the great warships learned his tactics, which combined human ingenuity with Thalren precision. Some nobles still whispered against him, claiming a human could never fully understand their ways. But the queen dismissed their concerns with one simple declaration. This man saved my daughter. He saved me. He will not fail my people. Finally, the fleet moved into position at the Crimson Expanse, a wide region of asteroids and debris near the Empire's border. The rebel fleet appeared as a black shadow against the stars, their weapons ready, engines glowing with ominous red light. Daniel stood on the bridge of the Queen's flagship, Seraph's Will, watching them approach. His hands clenched the railing, not in fear, but in focus. "Captain," said Admiral Kareth, his old mentor, "you've given our soldiers hope. They follow you without hesitation. Are you ready?" Daniel nodded. "As ready as anyone can be. We fight to protect lives, not just for victory. That's the difference between us and them." The Queen's voice came over the comms. Calm, clear, commanding. "All ships take formation. Protect the convoy and prepare for engagement. Captain Cross, you lead the forward strike." The battle began with a flash. The rebel ship surged forward like a river of fire. Thalren weapons fired in unison, beams of light striking the enemy hulls. Daniel's strategy unfolded perfectly. Human flanking tactics combined with Thalren firepower created chaos among the rebels. He moved from console to console, shouting orders, predicting enemy moves before they happened. Rebel ships faltered as they realized they had underestimated him. Even Princess Lyra watched from the observation deck, holding her mother's hand. "He's incredible," she whispered. Queen Saraline's eyes were sharp. "He is human, and yet he fights with the courage of 1,000 warriors. My faith in him is justified." The rebels adapted quickly, bringing their heaviest ships into the fight. One massive cruiser targeted the Queen's flagship, weapons blazing. "Shields at maximum," shouted the engineer. "They'll break through in seconds." Daniel reacted instantly. "Divert all auxiliary power to forward cannons. Pull a hard flank to the left." The Thalren pilots executed the maneuver with precision. The enemy cruiser collided with debris, heavily damaged, and lost its formation. The tide of battle shifted, but victory did not come without cost. A sudden explosion rocked the Queen's flagship. Daniel was thrown against the wall, dazed. Smoke filled the room. Alarms blared and fires erupted in several corridors. "Captain," Princess Lyra cried, appearing beside him despite the danger. Daniel shook off the daze and checked the control panels. Shields holding, but barely. "We need to finish this now." He grabbed a tactical board marking the enemy positions. "We lure their remaining ships into the asteroid field. They'll break apart or crash before they can escape." The Queen appeared behind him, her presence calm yet commanding. "Do it, Daniel, lead them. Show them that courage is stronger than hatred." With a nod, Daniel transmitted his orders fleet-wide. The ships moved as one, a precise dance of strategy and courage. Rebel vessels collided, disintegrated, or surrendered. The battle ended with a brilliant flash. The rebel fleet destroyed or scattered. Silence fell across the Crimson Expanse. The Thalren fleet cheered. Soldiers clapped Daniel on the back, some in disbelief that a human had led them to such a victory. Lyra ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. "You did it," she said, tears in her eyes. Daniel hugged her back. "We did it. Everyone did their part." The Queen approached, her expression a mixture of relief and awe. "Daniel Cross, you have not only saved my people but reminded us of what honor truly means." He bowed slightly. "I only did what any soldier would do." The Queen shook her head. "No, you went beyond duty. You risked everything, twice. That is why I cannot let you go." Daniel's eyes widened. "Your Majesty, I cannot stay forever. My people, you have a choice," she said firmly. "But you will always have a home here, and you will always have my protection." Later, in the palace gardens, Daniel walked with Lyra. The night sky shimmered with stars and the faint glow of distant nebulae. "You think she'll really let me leave?" he asked quietly. Lyra smiled, resting her hand on his arm. "I don't think it's about permission. It's about recognition. She sees your heart, Daniel. She trusts you like no one else." He looked at her, seeing gratitude and admiration in her violet eyes. "I never expected any of this. I only wanted to save you." "And you did," she said softly. "You saved all of us." That night, the Queen summoned Daniel to her private chamber. The room was quiet, lit with soft blue crystals. She gestured for him to sit. "Daniel Cross," she began, "I promised I would not let you go. You have proven yourself beyond any measure. The Empire owes you its life, its hope, and its future. I now make a formal vow. As long as I live, no harm shall come to you. You will always be under my protection, and when the time comes, you will decide where your path leads. Until then, you belong here." Daniel felt a strange warmth at her words. "Your Majesty, I am honored, truly, but I am still human. My world, my people may need me someday." She reached out, placing her hand over his. "And they will always be welcome here, as will you. But know this, you have changed more than just one life. You have changed an empire. That is not something any human could ever imagine, yet you did it." He nodded, speechless. For the first time, he understood the weight of his actions, not just in battle, but in hearts and minds. Days turned into weeks. Daniel trained new soldiers, advised fleets, and spent time with Lyra. He had become a symbol of courage, hope, and unity. The Queen watched him quietly, often from a distance. She had kept her promise. He was safe, respected, and valued. But she also knew that his presence would forever bind him to the Empire, a human who had given everything and was now part of Thalren history. One evening, she stood by the observation deck, whispering to herself, "You saved my daughter, my people, and my empire. You gave me hope. I will never let you walk alone again." Daniel Cross, the human soldier who had risked everything, smiled faintly. Across the stars, the galaxy was vast and uncertain, yet here, among the Thalren, he had found honor, friendship, and purpose. He had given his life once. He had returned. And now, he would never walk alone. The stars above Velrian sparkled like diamonds, a silent promise that courage and humanity could bridge worlds, unite hearts, and change the course of empires.